Hello, welcome in to Wagers on Campus, your home for the weekly college football coverage. Shows dropping every Wednesday and Monday. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel if you have not already, and if you could share, greatly appreciated, especially in the holiday season. 'Tis the season to give a lovely recommendation for a subscription. How about that? Everyone would love to see that as a stocking stuffer. Think very famous podcast, gave those out a couple of years ago. Certificates as stocking stuffers to like and subscribe. Brilliant idea. We got a big week. It's rivalry week, folks. We're at the end of the regular season. Can you believe it? I cannot. Wow, where did the time go? But this is the biggest card and biggest show that we have. And I'm flying solo today. Holiday season has my co-host tied up, and he's missing the biggest week of the year. Such a shame. Not because he's turned in another losing week and another losing lock. Fade King lives on. I mean, he adopted the name. He's putting out picks that if you fade him, you'd be winning. So technically, he's doing his job the right way. So hopefully, he rests up and gets back for conference championship week and bowl season. We're going to miss him this week. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you, your family, and everyone out there listening. Wagers on Campus week. We have a big week. We're recapping what we saw in week 13 while also covering 6 big games. We have 6 big games of note as well. And then we've got 10 Sicko Slate games. We could probably go deeper in the bag than that. But on top of that, we got 4 more Mac Messiah games. 2 are currently going on. Well, one already concluded. We had a 3:30 kick Central Time today. That was nice. Nice easy winner for us. BG minus 14.5. UMass, one of the worst seasons in all of college football history. Complete the 0-12 season. Only getting 14 was disrespectful. That Bowling Green game was the exact same game as NIU. And they scored the exact same points, 45. Just allowed 11 more than Northern Illinois did. 45-14 was your final. Currently sweating out an under, and that is in Western Michigan, Eastern Michigan. That's in the fourth quarter. It's 31-14. We can only allow 3 more points. Godspeed. So we've got 4 more in the Mac Messiah. Teaser pleaser will be released through our Twitter. Follow that. It's probably going to be over Friday, Saturday. Do have a quad box ready for you guys. And then I've got some early plays. Definitely need to get on. Only skipping Wednesday. We've got games today. No games tomorrow. Game on Thursday. Not the NFL. They've got the Academy working on Thanksgiving. Unbelievable. So we'll talk about those, and we'll send you out of here. Get you ready to get some sides and plates. Go back to last year's. We drafted sides and Thanksgiving sides? Best Thanksgiving sides? Entrees? Miscellaneous. Yeah, go back and listen to that episode. That was a good episode. We drafted all those. So, that being said, why don't we just get into a recap of last week? Alex, 3-5, minus 3.5 units on the week. Lock was 0-1. Season puts him at 6-7 on locks. I was 9-10, but up almost half a unit last week. And I was 1-0 on my lock. Miami last play of their game. Throw it on 4th and 2. Get a little style points. Got us over the team total over. Man, sometimes you just thank your lucky stars. That was unbelievable hit for the lock. Go 3-1 in best bets. That's how I was up after being Down on the week 9 and 10, still up units wise. That's why you got to check out the best bets. I've improved to 25 and 19 on the year in best bets. I believe I'm up almost 6 units, 7 units on best bets alone. We've got a quad box going back today, like I already mentioned. Pleaser last week was 1 and 3. Starting to see a trend, 1 and 3 the last 3 weeks. I'm telling you though, you bet them all. I mean, plus 190 every single time. We're gonna hit 2 one of these times. Teasers 4 and 2. Tough week. We've got one more chance to make a teaser positive for the year. And Money Dog Parlay goes 0 for 4. Brutal. Thought last week was our best week to get it. Just very tough. Very tough. So I'm coming back with a 1,000 to 1 money line parlay this week. Fuck it. If it's going to go 1-4 when it's 60 to 1, we can let it go 0 and 3 when it's 1,000 to 1. That's something you tell your grandkids about when that hits. Just a couple notes on my card last week. Food for thought. We always kind of discuss this. Liberty game. Want to start out with that. Ugly game. Talked about it. Disgusting. But just the anomaly of Liberty's up 28-7 in the fourth quarter. They close out the game. 4 of their final 5 possessions ends with an interception, and they lose in overtime after throwing an interception on their opening overtime possession. Louisiana Tech scampers for a 25-yard touchdown exactly after. Just a hilarious game to follow. I mean, truly, if you're not aware of Liberty, they have like 60,000 undergrads. Probably one of the biggest undergrads because of the online presence, Christian school. They probably have the largest non-single donor NIL available. And they're currently 4 and 7. That's not going to work. Bring back Hugh Freeze. Bring him back. Get him in that hospital. Have him coach from there. Got the Arnold Palmer cans, still 99 cents. Incredible. Might be a little vodka in there. It's the holidays. Let's get hammered. Yeah, first half over Ohio State. Starting four of the 5 wide receivers. Because Brandon Ennis played. 4 of the 5 wide receivers scratch. We knew Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith would, but Porter and then Graham basically just a no-show because they were trying to play seniors from the Fourth Reich. Got a guy named Adolf, a white guy named Adolf, last name Adolf out there. Not going to be hitting overs with that happening. Wazoo was a big one we liked. That was a good hit. Pitt, Georgia Tech over. Easy stuff. USC not covering, tough. Talk about that game. Let's break that game down. USC, I've seen a lot of talking heads talk about how Oregon controlled that game. They controlled their scoring possessions. I'll give you that. But I mean, USC also really shot themselves in the foot. Turnovers. You've got a leaping penalty that would have resulted in a empty possession from Oregon hitting the post, and the field goal is no good. And you're getting leaping? It's 4th and 13, my brother. Let the field goal just rip out there, pal. And then that subsequent drive, USC drives down there, 1st and goal from the 8, gets 0 points. These kickers, man, college kickers, when it's like inside the 15 and it's on one of the hashes, they just don't understand angles. It's unbelievable how closer you get, the higher percentage these college kickers are going to miss. So after he missed that, that was the end of the game. Brutal. Thought USC was very competitive. Still not a believer in Oregon or Dante Moore. Just not. This is not a championship team. So keep an eye on that when they start playing in championship games. They might have some trouble this week. Keep an eye on that as well. Other than that, yeah, Baylor Arizona game, our only loss on the best bets. Another hilarious box score there when we talk about like that Liberty uh, shit. Baylor had, I think, on 3 consecutive plays, like an interception for a touchdown. It was turnover on downs, Arizona score. The next play, interception for a touchdown. And then I think 3 plays later, another interception for a touchdown. Insane fourth quarter. Baylor was covering until they weren't. And that's usually how it goes. So that was the week. We always move on. It is what it is, right? Can't rest on our laurels. Let's talk about the biggest winners and losers for week 13. Oklahoma, all the way back. What a gritty win from a team nobody is even paying attention to. Missouri dominated this game from the first 20 minutes. Oklahoma did nothing. I think that's a testament to how good this defense really is. And we talk about Ohio State's defense a lot, but Oklahoma's defense, and maybe this is a testament also to how good Tennessee's offense is, has looked pretty stout the entire season, minus that Tennessee game. They held Missouri to 6 points. Missouri had over 200 yards of offense in the first half. They ended with 3 points in that half. Oklahoma gets a slant route for 87 yards. Boom. That's all they needed. That's all they needed to win the game. They added a couple more scores. 17-6 final. Oklahoma's right back in the thick of it. This is a team you don't want to see in the first round, especially if they're going to host a game in Norman. They get LSU this week in a disgusting over-under. We've got the lowest total of the season that we'll talk about in that game. We're not even going to talk about LSU. What was that? 13-6 final over Western Kentucky. Every time I looked at that score, it was disbelief. 13-10 final. Oh, man. Oh, brother. LSU Tigers. Get Lane in there. Let's get them cooking. Ohio State winners. Playing skeleton crew. Just looking to run everything. Still able to put up 42 on offense. You've got Caleb Downs on defense. Just visibly upset on the sideline when the backup crew allowed a touchdown to Rutgers. All the backups were in. Like this is a historically scary defense. The last team to even put up comparable numbers, 2021 Georgia. We all know what happened there. I believe they beat TCU 65-7 was the final. 65-7 in the national championship, and targeted Marvin Harrison to illegitimately beat Ohio State. And Noah Ruggles with one of the worst field goal attempts to win a football game in maybe the history of the game. We're talking not even close to the net. Had enough leg so far wide left. Unbelievable. Anyway, Ohio State looks like a different team. Looks like a team that is a anywhere, anytime team. We'll talk about it, obviously, the game this week. And then another winner, Diego Pavia. Coming off a bye week. Feels like Vanderbilt was a bit of an afterthought. How about the school record for passing yards, over 400, and 6 total touchdowns responsible for in a absolute ass-kicking of Kentucky, who just kicked Florida's ass. Just took Texas to overtime. Vanderbilt is a red zone turnover away from beating Alabama, and really just in the driver's seat in this playoff. And if they don't make the playoff because of just lack of spots, it'll be a shame because this team is electric. This team is truly fun to watch, and this week should be incredible to reignite a rivalry. To basically, this could ignite the rivalry. Tennessee and Vanderbilt. It doesn't even have a. Talk about some of the names. It doesn't even have a name. Like that's how lopsided it is. It's just a game that's played at the end of every season. So that sucks. So I added my own rivalry name. See if it catches on. All right, losers of the week. ACC. Tough. Tough. This podcast has Georgia Tech in the playoff plus 800 preseason. We'll kind of touch on what needs to happen in the ACC for teams outside of SMU and Virginia. If they both win, that's the ACC championship. Nothing anyone else can do. So we'll talk about a few other paths, and it's disgusting, but Duke is still alive somehow. That's the nuclear bomb worst case scenario for this league. You can absolutely imagine that officiating crew has one directive, and that's bury Duke this week. Fan base humility, losers of the week. Tell you what, it wasn't too long ago that having a loss meant something in this sport. When you had a loss, you were out of it. You're anxious. You have no hope. You're trying to figure out where you're going to book your tickets for a bowl game. Now we have fan bases with 2 losses just talking about where they deserve to be, how far up they should be, calling their shot on hosting a game for 2 losses. Heavily against, as an Ohio State supportive podcast, I understand that they were beneficiaries of the playoff expansion and 2 losses getting in. However, I didn't hear really any murmurs. Their second loss was obviously the last game of the season. So there's teams that are already set with 2 losses really just yammering. I think you can take a hint. But man, we got to start making losses mean something in this sport. Talking about expansion. And then politics and sports. I'm sure everyone saw the BYU Cincinnati game. There was a bit of a controversy that came out of Cincinnati on Saturday night. Got the student section chanting, "Fuck the Mormons." Them, not me. Am I crazy to think that, not to think, but to remember that in the 80s and 90s, there was a rivalry called the Convicts versus the Catholics? Notre Dame in Miami? There's only 2 schools that have religious base backgrounds. That's Notre Dame and BYU. So a lot of this boiling over, I'm sure it'll just wash over, but I mean, it's not an attack at the religion or an entire base. You're playing a football team. The Mormons are basically their mascot name. Might as well be the BYU Storm and Mormons. Would that help a little bit? Unbelievable. Let's just move on, but come on, guys. All right. Anyway, rest of week 13. Let's look at the 12-team playoff projections from me. How does that sound? All right. 12-teamer. Oh. That's got to change. Media assets. Let's look here. There we go. That should help. Nope, it doesn't. You get the hint for those watching. All right. 12-team playoff. If it ended today, this is what I would have it as. Let's go through it. Ohio State 1, Indiana 2, Georgia 3, Texas Tech 4. There's really not a lot of respect for Texas Tech out there. I think 7 in the AP poll, the poll that we denounce. That poll doesn't exist. No need to talk about that poll. We'll wait for tomorrow to understand what's going on in that. But Texas Tech is a team you don't want to play round 1 or 2. They are looking good. All right. So after that, hosting a game is Texas A&M. They're getting North Texas. I think North Texas comes out as the group of 5 highest. And then right above them, Ole Miss hosting Alabama, a little SEC action in Oxford. Winner plays Ohio State. It'd be a very interesting matchup going across. We've got Oklahoma hosting Notre Dame in Norman. 7-10 matchup. And then right below that, that's a typo. Oregon hosting SMU. SMU continues to win and spoils any ACC hopes for Miami to get in. So Eugene will be hosting, and the winner of that would play Georgia. Boy, that's a nice road for Georgia, huh? Possibly getting, geez. Yep. So there's a 12 team. It feels like there could be more teams, right? I agree. Xander, what would happen if there was a 16 team playoff? It's funny you asked that, Ghost Alex, because I happen to make a 16 team bracket. And I got it laid out right here. Don't even think about 24. Let's talk about the 16 team bracket. This is poetry here. Starting from the top left, we've got Ohio State playing Tulane. Yeah, I'm in between Tulane or North Texas. They get the group of 5. One gets the 16. Makes sense. Games in Columbus, first round. 8-9 Oregon BYU in Eugene. 4-13 is Texas Tech Vandy in Lubbock. 5-12 is Texas A&M Miami in College Station. Go to the other side of the bracket. It's Indiana hosting SMU in Bloomington. Oklahoma Notre Dame stays the same in Norman. Georgia Utah in Athens. Then Ole Miss Alabama stays the same in Oxford. Man. And guess what? Second round, higher seed hosts the game. I mean, there's no need to have your fan base traveling 3 different cities across the country. It'll be the same revenue, same TV. Like, let's stop gouging the sport for more than what it's worth. You're ruining the game. People that have never touched college football. 16 team makes the most sense. It's already the same amount of weeks. We're not adding any weeks. We're not adding any games. We're only adding games to and teams. But there's still 4 stages of the bracket. I think we'd be able to eliminate conference championship games. We could eventually push this up another week. There you go. What do we think? I like the 16 team. I think it's the next stage. And outside of that, there's been a lot of talk about scheduling fix this week. So I think I have it. I've talked about this a little bit, but I, of course, went into my graphics bag, made a graphic. Listen, I think this is the best way to set the college football season up. So when you're talking to your friends, your coworkers that are fans of other fan bases, other programs, other universities. There's one thing that always comes up is, "Oh, I wish I had that schedule," or "Why should we even schedule XYZ anymore?" And you know what? That usually comes from the team that lost the game they why should we schedule? Isn't that funny how, you don't hear Ohio State saying, "Why should we schedule Texas?" Obviously, because they won. Sour grapes. You play the game to win and to have the advantage later on when they're looking at large. Anyway, so here's the college football base schedule. Week 0, Army Navy. Kickoff weekend, Army Navy. They're in a conference now. Get them out of that weird spot in between. If Navy wins this week, they could be playing in the AAC championship. If they win that, they could be representing the college football playoff. They'll have 7 days to prepare. 7 days. I love the pageantry. We obviously love the rivalry. Have it kick off the weekend, be the standalone game. Get this overseas crap out of here. All right, week 1. Half of Power 4 versus Power 4, and then half of FCS versus Power 4. Hear me out. We will be on a 3-year rotation. ACC plays the SEC. Big 10 plays the Big 12. 1 year. We will then rotate the next year. Big 12 plays ACC. SEC plays Big 10. It'll be a 3-year rotation. Every single Power 4 team will play each other once. And that's that. You have the Power 4 schedule. No one can avoid it. Indiana, sorry. Got to get that Power 4 team on there. And then also everyone deserves an FCS team. You're getting money, you're getting funding into the FCS. Keeping your players healthy, strenuous, long season. It works out for everyone. Week 2. So this way, for programming, we're not having the same week, just all 1 week of FCS versus P4. Week 2 will be the other half, the Power 4 conferences playing the other half of the Power 4, and then FCS. Week 3, Power 4 versus G5, G5 versus whatever schedule they have. I think that's pretty standard. 3 non-conference games for the Power 4 teams are 1 Power 4 team, 1 G5, 1 FCS team. 9 conference games, week 4 through 14. We're scrapping, and the SEC already did scrap it by moving to 9 conference games this next year, but we're scrapping that. We're scrapping this FCS week 13 bye. Conference schedule. Week 15 conference championships. 2-week bye. And then round 1 of the playoff bowl season. So 1 extra week. That's it. Everyone plays the same. Conferences got so big, we're probably going to have to go back to splitting. We have the pods now in the SEC of guaranteed playing, but I think this is fair. You have that week. You have the matchups of the Power 4s. Everyone's playing someone competitive. Obviously, it'll be top bottom. Your Alabamas will play your Ohio States. Your Rutgers will play your Kentuckys. It makes sense. Where am I wrong? All right, so just fix the schedule for you. Granted you a 16-team playoff. Anything else I can do to just fix college football? This brain is free. Happy to help. Happy to help. This is the final week of the season before we hop into the big games of the season, big games of the slate. Just keep in mind, Notre Dame has another 30-point favorite this week Are we really going to allow Notre Dame in the playoff over Miami? The precedent the College Football Playoff Committee is about to set is going to set the tone for decades to come. Decades. We cannot have a head-to-head tossed to the side from conference losses. It's not like Miami lost to NIU this year. A MAC. It's not like Miami lost to a MAC team this year. I think Louisville has like the second most ranked wins. SMU could win the ACC. At some point, we have to be accountable for our actions. Is Notre Dame passing the eye test right now? Playing, let's see, now 9 of their last 10 games, 9 of their last 10. So since their loss to Texas A&M, they've been favored by double digits. The only game they weren't was Arkansas. The next game after Texas A&M, if they played Arkansas again on the road, they'd be favored by 19.5, probably 25.5, to be honest. Notre Dame has played nobody. They played USC. Great. Nobody. USC will be in the Holiday Bowl this year. USC is not there yet. Notre Dame has played absolutely nobody. And who's Miami played? They played Notre Dame, and they beat them. That's all that matters. Bottom line. Bottom line. And if we're going to hold out, that's why you schedule those games. You schedule good teams early because you expect both of you to be there. And in case you're both at large, you have the head-to-head win against them. Let's figure that out. All right. That's my rant on Notre Dame, weekly rant. How about let's get into some games here? Why don't we get into the games, the big games of the week? What the hell? Sorry, let me fix this here for the viewers. There we go. Big games of the week. It's a big week, folks. We've got name games. What does that mean? The games mean so much. They've been playing for so long that they have a name attached to them. Most of them. One of them we're going to give a new name that's going to carry on. Started here. Week 14 slate, big games. It's only one game to start with. It's up north. Some gal named Ann Arbor hosting the game on Fox. Came out 11:14 a.m. kickoff Central Time. Nice waste of 14 minutes there. Saturday. Snow flurries expected, but nothing accumulating. Right around 32 degrees at kickoff. Got the Ohio State University playing University of Michigan Wolverines. Ohio State's a 10-point favorite. Over-under's 44.5. What do we have in this game? We've got one team that's young, still trying to find an identity. Obviously the identity they want to be is the running team, smash mouth team. But is that the team that they've been and they've shown in games that they've needed to win? No, it isn't. Really isn't. And, they've struggled in the weeks leading up to Maryland. Impressive win over Maryland last week. But we look at a team that's 120th in the country in pass play percentage. So they want to run the ball. But they're playing a team that is top 5 rush defense maybe number one rush defense in the entire country. So when they need to throw the ball, they're averaging 190 yards per game. It's 100th in the country. Averaging 7 yards per pass, 7.8 yards per pass. That's 50th in the country. Let's dive into the advanced stats here. Damn it. Damn it. Eastern Michigan puts in a last second touchdown to crush our under. All right. That's breaking news for something you already knew. All right. Anyway, when we look at both teams, obviously Michigan's going to look to run this ball. It's what they did last year. They also concussed Will Howard in the first half. See, I've got a big problem, though. They've got zero pass explosiveness. Zero. One of the worst in the entire country. Seeing their rush explosiveness is what they've been known for the past 5 years. They wear you down. They run it 35 times, and then in third or fourth quarter, bust one, gets to the end zone, or it's 40, 50-yard, 60-yard gain. No problem there. Michigan's schedule, soft. A lot of Big Ten schedules are soft this year, just the way it worked out. Some of the teams that they've played, at the end of the day, that's you just play the teams on your schedule. But on the road versus Oklahoma, on the road versus USC, scored exactly 13 points. Two toughest matchups of their season, completely dominated. Oklahoma's archetype is similar to Ohio State's, except Ohio State is just that much better on offense. I see a similar game to that transpiring. Looks like Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate should be healthy. When we look at Ohio State and their breakdown of advanced analytics, look at a team that is one of the best we've ever seen on defense. Comes to early down plays, late down. When it comes to stopping the rush explosiveness and pass explosiveness, stuff rate, and yards from DBs, all top 10 in the country. Against the run, total EPA is third in the country. You know, this team has dominated every single game that they've played. They were up 3 at half to Penn State, was one of the closer games. And then Penn State never scored again. 17-9 at half for Rutgers. Rutgers had negative 6 yards until Ohio State's second team defense came in the second half. Negative 6 yards. Rutgers had one drive the entire game. Outside of that, I believe it was under 50 yards outside of the one drive. That's all they've done. Their archetype has been defense, defense, defense. And different than last year, they've been a young running game. If you want to find a fault in Ohio State, it's their running game. Not anything due to their offensive line. Early down EPA on offense, first in the country. Average distance on third down. When we look at that, that is, let's see here. Average distance on third down. Where'd you go? That is, what the hell? Top 5 in the country. There we go. Listen, this feels like the national championship game last year. Obviously, Michigan's won the last 4 in this rivalry game after forfeiting the COVID year. Ohio State before then had won 15 of 16. So this is a very ebbs and flows type relationship in a rivalry. That's obviously the wrench that can happen here. I think the biggest factor is bringing in Brian Hartline as play caller and offensive coordinator. Last year, Chip Kelly, with an injured Will Howard, refused to throw the ball, refused to get a backup quarterback in the game, and they got shut down. Any sort of run game they tried to establish ran it into the strengths of Michigan's defense. The only problem is this year is Michigan's defense is much significantly weaker than it was. Mason Graham isn't there. And Ohio State is not going to look to run the ball up the middle. They're going to look to air it out over the top. Where this weakness is pass explosiveness from Michigan's standpoint. And I think this is safe to say that these teams on paper are not comparable. This truly comes down to, do you trust the rivalry or not? This is a smash spot at 9.5. 10 obviously is fine as well. Ohio State should comfortably win this game. Let's just be honest. The only thing that will stop Ohio State from winning this game is a coaching malfunction, coaching malpractice. These teams are not similar. They're not the same. Look at it any way, any shape or form. Michigan's too young. They're not there yet. This will be a hell of a rivalry in years going forward. I think this is where Ohio State gets their lick back. I think this is one of my favorite plays is right now Ohio State over 32.5, alt team over. It's plus 190. Ohio State will get into the 40s in this game. And I just think that this is a just kind of retribution game for Ryan Day and gets a lot of anger out. So you can call me biased. You can call me whatever you want. It's just how I see this game playing out. I think it's close first half-ish, and Ohio State is just too built head to toe, too disciplined in every single position. Now, if Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith are somewhat on the sidelines at some point in this game, then you better be worried. But both seem to be good to go. Looked like they were resting because they're expecting to play in the Big Ten championship. Obviously, last year, already behind the 8 ball, didn't have to play in the Big Ten championship, rested up for their playoff game. So that is where they're standing. Ohio State is one of the slowest teams in the country. That all gets unleashed this week. One of the best bets of the week, Ohio State, minus 10. Take it. Moving on, Egg Bowl. It means something. Mississippi State looking to get a bowl game. 1-6 in the SEC. Ole Miss. Obviously, a loss here you think would kick Ole Miss out of the playoff conversation with such a weak schedule. I'd say one of their biggest wins. It's probably Oklahoma. It's not one of it. It is the biggest win. Obviously smashed Tulane. But then an 8-point loss to Georgia. Kind of let Florida hang around a little too long. South Carolina hang around a little too long. Washington State hang around a little too long. LSU. This team is just missing something from that championship pedigree. Spread is 7.5. Mississippi State is at home. Cowbell advantage. This is an 11 a.m. kick. Isn't that ugly? Didn't this game used to be one of the only games on Friday, and it was the night game? Moving it to 11 a.m. seems sacrilegious. Don't like that. Egg Bowl, obviously. Here's the thing. Strength of Ole Miss is going to be shutting down pass explosiveness, and Blake Shapen and Mississippi State have shown the ability to air it out. Rest of Ole Miss defense, Fluff Bothwell should be able to get whatever he wants. whatever he wants. Pace of play is going to be a big issue. Can Mississippi State keep up? Against the run, Lacey, one of the best running backs in the country, maybe the best running back in the SEC. Shout out to Matt Hardy, though. So, second fiddle. Still, that's biggest Achilles heel here for Mississippi State, stopping the run. Obviously they've been competitive in games. Texas game, Florida, Tennessee, Arkansas. They've been there. Beat Arizona State. I think that when we look at the advanced stats when it comes to offense, I think this is a game that home field advantage could benefit Mississippi State. Are they going to win? Maybe not. Are they going to keep it within a score? I think so. I think that the benefit of this, the biggest weakness being the run game, is the ability to have one game to step up. We still have a first-year starter in the FBS level, Trinidad Chambliss. This is going to be a raucous crowd. First ever Egg Bowl. We've got the pissing on the goalpost, figuratively, in this rivalry. It's just too many points in a game that the dog is very live to win. Speaking of dogs, we've got good old-fashioned hate. Georgia at Georgia Tech. Lost a little bit of the luster. Georgia Tech getting demolished last week. That's not what we like to see, folks. But it's still going to go down. Atlanta, Georgia. Neutral sites. Mercedes-Benz Dome. Listen, what we saw from Georgia Tech last week from a defensive side of the ball, nicest way to put it is not great. Not great, Bob. When we look at these teams compared, one team looks to be trending upwards. The other team looks to be fading fast. Georgia Tech still alive in the college football playoff. Let's see. Let me pull up their... Shit, I had it. ACC championship scenarios. So we'll go through every ACC game. We'll talk about what the scenario is. So for Georgia Tech, their easiest path, because they're done. They're done with the ACC. Obviously, a non-conference game. So they need Pitt to win. They need Pitt to beat Miami. They need Virginia Tech to beat Virginia. And they need SMU to lose. It's their easiest path. Now, if you go and look up the scenarios, it's pretty crazy because there's like four others. If Miami wins, SMU loses, Duke loses, Virginia loses, and NC State wins. Georgia Tech is representing the ACC. All right, we won't get into those crazy ones, but that's the easiest path. Pitt winning, Virginia losing, SMU losing. Georgia Tech clinches a berth. All right, as for the game itself, obviously the weakest part of the game for Georgia Tech is going to be their pass defense. And that's tough because Gunnar Stockton seems to be clicking on all cylinders. We look at some bottom tier pass defenses. Georgia Tech is bottom 20 in the entire country. That's not good. When you allow 34 to BC, 48 to North Carolina State, that's not good. That's not good. And Georgia's a team that's trending the right direction. When we look at Georgia, they've really started to shine when it comes to early down and getting ahead of the sticks. Obviously, a tough win against Charlotte last week. But, that game against Texas we talked about, it was close, but really Georgia was in control the whole game. Texas did what they could to stay in it, and that's what you have to do at certain times. But Georgia just feels like they're starting to click. Kirby pulling off onside kicks. Feels like there's some sort of swagger here. Gunnar Stockton, viable candidate for the Heisman. I think a very impressive game could get him to New York. We'll see. Where this team shines on defense, minimalizing rush explosiveness, opportunity percentage, stuff rate. Those are things that are huge for a team that runs their quarterback 20 times a game and, really likes to run the ball. Georgia Tech, one of the best offenses in the country, but running the ball is imperative to them. Spread in this game, Georgia Tech 13.5-point dogs. Over under 59.5. It could be a buy low situation here. Everyone's thinking Georgia's on the rise. Stats are showing us that Georgia Tech just can't stop this team. So I think we just take it. I think we just take the over. Last year, it felt like the same game script where Georgia Tech had no chance. Goes to what, 6 overtimes? Sucks that this game's at 2:30. It's on a Friday. Good old-fashioned hate. Let's take the over. Let's get out of there. Next up, and potentially the gayest name for a rivalry, we got the Lone Star Showdown. Okay, Buckaroo. Got Texas A&M going to Texas. Texas is 2.5-point dog at home. 51.5 is the over-under. The 6:30 p.m. kick on Friday. Listen, two very good teams. Texas, obviously not the season they wanted to see, but this could turn everything around. A few losses here and there. All of a sudden, Texas sneaks in. I think they would get in over 2-loss Mississippi. Personal opinion. Tennessee beats Vandy. Texas should be the higher SEC team ranked. Washington beats Oregon, maybe. Not too many necessary steps to get Texas in, but feels like a stretch. Texas USC is going to be a good Holiday Bowl. Let's probably leave it at that. We look at these teams' profiles, Texas has yet to be able to firmly establish a run. That's where they were struggling against Georgia the most, no matter what Sarkisian said at halftime. Wisner being back healthy is very solid. But Texas A&M, they have the capability to allow some rushing. Middle of the road stuff rate. One of the worst in the country in rush explosiveness limiting. Only getting tested against Samford last week. But obviously that South Carolina game is the last game of note that we can expect from this team. This feels like Texas A&M is comfortable being in the playoff. I mean, they're 100% in. Doesn't matter what happens in this game. Texas A&M is in the playoff, so we can scratch that off. Who wants it more? Where's it at? Texas absolutely embarrassed last year against Texas A&M. Night game. This feels like the tape that they'll start next year's title run. Everything changed. Arch comes back, obviously. Everything changed in that Texas A&M game. Didn't get in the playoff, but we controlled the game. And when I'm looking at the stats, when we compare both of these teams, very similar in a stat profile base. Both teams are going to be able to pass the ball. Which Marcel Reed are we going to get? Is he going to come out sleepy again? Because I'll tell you this much. They go down 28, 27. They're not coming back. They're not coming back. So that's the last big game we saw of them. I think Texas is just so far removed from caring about establishing the run that their passing game has just looked overly impressive. Arch last week over 350 yards again. It's the Texas game that'll define their season of what could have been. Be on the dog here. Up next, Iron Bowl. Bow, 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 bow. Alabama, Auburn. You know what it is. Kick six. Saban's biggest nemesis. 6:30 on Saturday. Auburn is a 6-point dog. 46.5 is your total. What a game. What a game. This game's in Auburn. I don't think Alabama has won in Auburn. I think I saw that at night in this rivalry. Quite a long time. We look at two teams where Alabama's going to be looking to throw the ball. Guess what? That's Auburn's weakness. Auburn's going to be a team that's going to want to dominate the trenches. Auburn is going to be stout in the run game. 2.7 yards a game allowed. It's fourth in the country. 91 rush yards allowed per game. That's fifth in the country. We look at any sort of advanced analytics in this game. It's pretty simple. Can Auburn score? That's really what it comes down to. We've got a Auburn team. What could have been? They've had a stout defense. They have some of the best talented wide receivers in the entire country. Ken Coleman's right there with Jeremiah Smith. Can they figure out a way to score? That's going to be the biggest question mark, because they're going to be able to, be comfortable with never blitzing, getting pressure from their line, because Alabama does not have a run game. They've not been able to establish a run all season. When we look at Bama, they're obviously going to look to tap on their wide receivers. Ty Simpson is going to look to push it through the air. And I think that's where you get a bit of an advantage. No, it's scary, Jordan Hare at night. Saban said it earlier in the year. Feels like that place is haunted. Kalen DeBoer is someone we can't trust. But I think this is a overplay. 46.5 too low. Can't really decide. I mean, that line's moved up from 5.5 to 6. I would like to lean Alabama here because of that ability to pull away through the air. And I don't think Auburn could keep up if it does get into a bit of an air raid style game. Something to keep an eye at. I like the over. Don't like too much. Not too strongly on either side right now. Those numbers are just pretty tight. It somehow got gassed over a touchdown. We're taking Auburn. But right now, it seems like a decent spot for a Bama signature win to just shore them into the playoff. Would be good for me, who called Kalen DeBoer getting fired this year. Loses to Auburn, knocks them out of the playoff. That would be good. So, yeah, right off to Penn State. All right. Vandy at Tennessee. Tennessee is favored by 2.5. This is the game where I made the rivalry name. Doesn't have one because it hasn't been much of a rivalry. Tennessee's obviously just laid the wood to Vanderbilt. How about the Smoky Mountain Shootout? It's pretty nice. Smoky Mountain Shootout. We're rolling with that. ESPN, Tennessee's 2.5-point favorite, over under 65.5. Saturday, 2:30 p.m. Central. Man, this game has all the makings of being a absolute classic. You've got a team in Tennessee that's a few plays away from definitely being a playoff contender on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, big question marks. maybe one of the worst pass defenses we've seen from this team in a long time. Vanderbilt, on the other hand, is just a team that, man, will never quit on you. They won't quit. They're just gonna they are just going to ravish you in every sort of the way. Pavia is going to extend plays that are going to annoy you as an opposing fan and have you out of your seat as a casual onlooker. Top five in a lot of the advanced, or I'd say top 5 percentile, a lot of the advanced analytics when it comes to the offensive side of the ball. Biggest problem is against the pass. There's a reason this is at 65 and a half. I mean, when we're talking 34-31 doesn't get us to an over. That's a big, big game. Sometimes these games, all the stars align. When you've got a low spread like that, big number, stay off the side and let's go to the total. I'm comfortable going over. Stuff us up with some overs. Let's get there. Tennessee's defense is going to allow explosive plays, and that's what Vanderbilt does. I'd say 48-45 is the final in this game. Tennessee already had a similar game against Georgia, 44-41. I see that the same. If Oklahoma's putting up 23 on or 33 on you, Vanderbilt's going to get more than that. I like Vanderbilt to win this game, go 10-2, 10 wins for the first time in school history, Vanderbilt. They get it done. Why not? Why not Vanderbilt? At Neyland Stadium, there's going to be a black square in that checkerboard setup from what I've seen. Should be a great view. All right, games of note. Let's cruise through these. Speaking of Oklahoma, they've got to win an in game. Oklahoma wins this game, they're in. They get LSU. This can't be the inverse of what happened last year. A lowly Oklahoma team, couldn't do shit, was just completely on the outs, welcomed in an Alabama team prepping for the playoff. Oklahoma dominated them from start to finish, knocked Alabama out in the final week of the season. Didn't mean anything for Oklahoma. Can't let that happen. Oklahoma's a 10-point favorite here. Here it is, folks. Over under 36 and a half. 36 and a half. Yikes. The Oklahoma Hawkeyes? Good God. The LSU Scarlet Knights? Goo. Two of the worst offenses in the country. Before even talking about either of those, this has to be like two negatives makes a positive, right? Two teams so bad at offense. Defenses have been outstanding that we're going to bet the over. Don't worry about the stats. Worry about the havoc the defenses can create. And worry about the starting field position. Oklahoma is one of the, just like Ohio State, almost a perfect defense when it comes to every advanced analytics stat that we're going to look at. Number 2 team in the country against the run. Top 8 team in the country against the pass. Nussmeier probably not going to go. Shut down for the season. Mateer continues to get healthy as we continue to move on through the season. Maybe we just go Oklahoma team total over. Because that's going to be 23 and a half. I think that could be a play. I mean, LSU only scoring 13 against Western Kentucky. That might be a low for the program. And they won the game. But that might be a low for the program. Let's look at team total over there. All right, next up, Missouri, Arkansas, battle line rivalry. Arkansas plus 2.5. 57.5 is the spread here. This game is on Saturday. What do we think? I think that this is a all-time 2-9 team in Arkansas. Is that right? Yeah, 2-9. Unbelievable. Been in every game this season. Their defense, though, is just one of the worst of all time. Finally got 50 hung on them in the Texas game in SEC play. Texas covered that 10. Missouri, Perbula came back too early. Didn't look good. Sioux just couldn't do anything to Oklahoma defense. Good thing they get the exact opposite this week. When we look at areas of opportunity, obviously Missouri wants to run the ball. Guess what? That's great news for them because they're running into one of the worst rush defenses in the entire country, bottom 20. Bottom 20 in the country in rush defense, 25th. EPA. This would be a game where I'd look towards the under, surprisingly. Because I think Missouri is able to play enough defense that they're going to just want to power the ball out of this, milk the clock, and just dominate this game on the ground. Like a 35 to 40-minute possession goal. Like the under. I'm ready to lay it with Missouri. Disrespectful. If not, it's Drinkowitz swan song, take a bow, heading off to Penn State. Congrats, bud. Way to quit on your team. All right, up next, Miami Pitt. Let's go. We get to go back to the ACC. What is this? ACC tiebreaker machine. All right, let's start with Miami. Easiest path is a win. Virginia loss, Duke loss, SMU win. Or a win, SMU loss, Duke loss, Virginia loss, and NC State win. Not very easy. Pitt, much easier road. They win and Virginia loses, they're in. If they win and SMU loses, they're in. Either one. If Virginia or SMU loses and Pitt wins, Pitt is in the ACC championship game after we just saw them get demolished by Notre Dame. Might get a MAC team in here for God's sake, if that's the case. Anyway, the game itself, I guess we'll cover it. I love Miami here. Under a touchdown. I think it's a hammer spot. Pitt showed some incredible havoc defense last week, springing them out to a 21-0 lead. Did kind of let that milk away. I like what Heinzel's been doing. But when we look at Miami, man, all these numbers just pop off the charts. And where they're going to dominate is non-explosive plays, early down plays, havoc, defensive creating havoc against a freshman quarterback. That's where we're going to win an under touchdown game. Pitt is allowing some of the most havoc in the entire country on offense. Miami's top 10 havoc on defense. That's our key play. That's why I like Miami under a touchdown. Florida State. Sunshine Showdown. Saturday, 3:30 p.m. Central. Not Eastern. Weird 4:30 Eastern start. The Gators are favored by 1.5. Over under 50.5 for your Florida Gators. What a weird game. What a weird game. It means something to Florida State. Norvell just got the green light to come back again. They just don't know what they're doing in Tallahassee. Actually, they do. They were just saying, we're fine. Sport happens 4 months of the year. We're not going to shell out a goddamn 50+ million buyout. We're not interested in that at all. So when we look at these two teams, obviously Florida, no postseason availability. Where the hell is this game? Is this Friday, not Saturday? Oh, it might be Friday. I might have wrote that down wrong. No, I did not. I just can't find my graphic here. What the hell? Oh, there it is. 3-8. Yikes. Yikes, Florida. Both teams 2-6 in their conferences. Yikes. Oh man, Florida State last week losing to NC State 21-11. Last thing you see coming is the offense sputtering, defenses failed to create havoc stuff, and maybe that's the only thing. See, when we look at this type of game though, you have to worry about if one of these teams is going to get up. Like, is Florida are their players just going to be ready for the portal as soon as this game's over? Just see ya. Like in a game where it's basically pick 'em, how can you pick the team that has nothing to play for? Bowl games are great in college football. So I mean, it's one of those like ugly stats of that's not very sharp of you to say, hey, they're playing for a bowl game, the other team isn't. I get it. But now we're talking transfer portal era. How does Florida get up? I'm taking Florida State. Ugly. Ugly, ugly. And one of the cooler unofficial names up next, Oregon at Washington, under a touchdown. Really piqued my interest. I like Fight for the Forest. That was the unofficial name for this. Saturday at 2:30. Fight for the Forest. Oregon is laying 6.5 on the road. 51.5 is your total. 2:30 Central, CBS. Gary Danielson and Brad Nessler get real comfortable with Oregon. Listen, Washington has had a ho-hum type season for what they expected. Able to blow out UCLA on the road last week. Good. Blew out Purdue. Good. 2 good bounce backs after losing to Wisconsin. Puke. Washington is a better team at home. They just are. You take Ohio State out of the equation, they're averaging 40 points per game at home in conference play. Hung 70 on UC Davis. How about that at home? No, but this team plays differently. When you look at 51.5, that is a smash over spot. Hold on. Let me check myself. Weather Saturday for Seattle. 42 light rain. Wind? Nothing. 4 miles an hour. It's a smash spot. Oregon is a defense that does not create havoc. They're not, outside of the defensive line, they're not imposing. They're not terrifying in defensive backfield. And, they're going to get a few sacks here and there, but Damon Williams should be able to get loose. This is a smash over. This is play of the week here. 51.5. Good God. Yes, let's go. No need to talk about it anymore. Great play. I think Oregon pulls away in the end, to be honest. Washington's live, though. All right, Territorial Cup, Arizona at Arizona State. This game means something for the first time in a while. Both 8-3. So Arizona State a little more hurt. This game's on Friday at 8 p.m. Fox. We look at both these teams. Obviously, Arizona's had the better season, and Arizona State has had the kind of down season to their standards from what Dillingham is going to hold. When we're going to compare these two teams, Arizona's still trying to find a way to pass, but they're going to be able to get whatever they want on the ground. Both these teams struggle against the run defense. Jeff Sims starting at quarterback. That's where I think we're going to find the disadvantage. We like to fade Jeff Sims. Easy to beat up Colorado, but Arizona State last competitive game was West Virginia at home, 25-23, and snuck by Iowa State as well. Listen, I think this is pretty easy. I think the Wildcats get it done on the road. Arizona's been playing good ball. Fida, back to what he was 2 years ago. Their defense has shown the ability to contain any sort of passing. So they're going to be able to overload the box. I like what they've been doing. Overwhelmed Baylor. Big win on the road at Cincinnati. And big win over Kansas. They also suffocated Colorado. Both teams have lost to Houston. This is a road favorite, Arizona -2. Book it. All right, let's fly through the Sicko slate here. Pushing up there, hour 20. Solo pod, a little different. Not a lot less back and forth. Obviously, a little sick myself to be able to push solo for hour 20. Yikes. Does this guy shut up? Navy at Memphis. Huge AAC implications here. Let's see. AAC conference championship scenarios. So for the AAC, Navy win at Memphis and a North Texas loss and Tulane loss. And they're the 1 seed, and they'll host. Oh, AAC, the 1 seed host. That's nice. That's a nice little wrinkle. So if they win, North Texas loses, or Tulane loses, they'll be the 2 seed. So one of the two, and they'll travel. Memphis, out of it. Sorry, Memphis. But Memphis is a 5.5-point favorite. That's because they're familiar with the run. They're familiar with this triple option. This is a weird, weird game, especially it's on Thanksgiving night. 6:30. Memphis is 5.5-point favorites. 58.5 is the total. This game's on ESPN. Look, I mean, the strength of Memphis is going to be stuff rate, line yards, opportunity yards. Their weakness is against the pass. Blake Horvath can pass, though. So that's where I think we could have some issues. 58.5, big total. Man, last time out for Navy, they put a whipping on USF. Offense has clicked all year. Their weakest is against the pass. Memphis is going to want to keep it on the ground. And you know what we like when two teams like to keep it on the ground, folks? Unders. Thanksgiving under. Bet this under 58.5 and go watch the NFL game. You just like forget about it and you check your phone midway through the NFL game and you're like, oh shit. It's only 21-17 in the fourth quarter. We've got 21 points to play with. Do that. I'm not sure who's going to win here. I think Navy's a very live dog here on the road. Both teams, Memphis a little banged up, like Navy. This next game here, Sicko, because it was for Mayor. We're going to skip over. I mean, I have no input on this. Northwestern at Illinois. Illinois -7. Illinois off a loss to Wisconsin. Oh, Bielema. Was that tugging at the strings there? That one was tough. Tough to see, tough to watch. Over-unders 46.5. Surprising. Surprising over-under there. That's on Saturday. Saturday night. What a weird game to be on Saturday night. Rivalry weekend. Is that Saturday night? Yeah, there it is. Holy shit. Yeah, I don't have a play. 27-10. Gross. All the Wisconsin Land of Lincoln trophy. How about that? Share a nugget. All right. Next up in the running for gayest name, along with Texas A&M, UCLA at USC Crosstown Cup. Come on. Crosstown Cup? What is that? Crosstown Cup. Can't even think of a witty quip. It's such an ugly name. USC is favored by 21.5, over under 59.5. That's an undercity. UCLA is not going to do shit. What a fun run that was mid-season. National champions, UCLA. I mean, we'll talk about that for years. But they are nothing. They're so bad. UCLA is so bad. Lost to Washington 48-14 last week. That would barely crawl over. That's 62. 48-10 to Ohio State. That's under. 28-21. I know, but it's this team, this game. UCLA's shown some promise being able to run the ball. We look at USC, they're running the ball. Not that great against the run, but average, fine. I don't want to touch the spread. I don't want to touch this game. I would lean under. But that being, man, both of those games are 6:30 on Saturday. That is terrible for whoever scheduled that. Gross. Speaking of gross, the next game put you to sleep on Saturday night. Notre Dame goes to Stanford Cardinals. Cardinal. Sorry. No plural. 32.5 point favorite, Notre Dame on the road. Over under 50.5. Give me Stanford team total over. That's like 7.5. What is that crap? Stanford hot off the biggest win of their season. Smoked their rival Cal. 31-10. Andrew Luck getting emotional. Listen, talked about it in that Hawaii game. Stanford, for the lack of talent that they have, extremely disciplined. They're very, very well coached, and these players buy in. They can't do much on offense. Last week, may have been an anomaly. However, they've been stout against the run. Who wants to run the ball? Notre Dame. You say, but that's okay. CJ Carr will throw it over the top. This is at 8:30 Pacific time kickoff. This game's going to kick off at 10:30 Central Time, Notre Dame time. 10:30 at night. Sleepy. These boys are going to be ready to go to bed. This is a Stanford hammered plus 32 spot. Stanford's live to pull the upset of the century here. Upset of the century. Call back to Stanford in the Harbaugh days against USC. I think they were 33.5 point dogs. Shades of that. The Legends Trophy gets handed out here. Definitely hammer Stanford over 7.5 points team total. That's extremely disrespectful. It's probably like 9.5. That's all you need to know. The best part of Stanford's team is their run defense. Boy, that would be tough. Tough way to end the season. But that's a weird, weird spot, isn't it? Having to go out west, last game of the night. Interesting. All right, Iowa at Nebraska. Nebraska's +6 at home. 38.5 Friday, 11 a.m. This is the Heroes game. Heroes game because we need some heroes to come in and score some points. Is that what that is? George Kittle, Will Compton, both very heated on Monday Night Football. More of George Kittle just cut a nice little WWE promo on Scott Van Pelt. Man, Nebraska just got demolished by Penn State. This is a weird, weird game. Iowa's been on the, losing to Michigan State. It's one of the worst losses of the entire season for any team in Power 4. Good thing they didn't. They came back and won. Wow, I'm not going to lie. I did not check that game afterwards. I just saw they were losing. What a comeback by Iowa. I always knew they'd win. Man, Gronowski, another bad game. That Miljanovich, he's going to be a good player for Michigan State. All right, anyway, back to this game. You look at two teams. Do we go under 38.5 for the old time's sake? Just a real ugly, ugly ass game. Two teams that are stout against the pass. Don't have to worry about that. They've kind of lacked against the run. I think this is an over spot. Over 40.5. Iowa's covered some overs this season to get to 8. One of these teams is getting to 8-4. Mayer needs it. He's got Nebraska over 8.5 or 7.5 wins this season. Like the over. All right. A big game for our Mountain Best category. San Diego State at New Mexico. One of these teams is going to potentially, San Diego State would go to the Mountain West Championship with a win here. One of these teams is going to represent Mountain West in some way. It could be like the first time in 40 plus years, like two downtrodden football teams. This seems like disrespectful to San Diego State to only be a point favorite here. This is another small total, 41.5. I think we lay the under here. And I would take San Diego State. They just continue to cover. New Mexico with a shockingly great performance against a academy team, only allowing Air Force 3 points last week. Watch out. That shows me good signs there. San Diego State blows out San Jose State. Handle Boise. Go under. And I lean San Diego State to get it done. Talk about a fall from grace. Next up, it's the old Palmetto Bowl. Clemson at South Carolina. Gross. Saturday, 11 a.m. What we have here, two bad teams. Who wants to bet on this fucking game? South Carolina's -2.5. Gross. Over under 47.5. SEC Network. It's all about who's healthy. How can you trust South Carolina? They can't pass the ball. They can't run the ball. Clemson can't stop the pass, can't stop the run. This might just be an over 46.5. It might be a stay away. Start getting into the weeds here. In Columbia, early. Yeah, I don't know. Over. Next up, ugliest game of the year. Ugliest Power 4 game of the year by far. That's Boston College at Syracuse, 2 p.m. on Saturday. Someone let me know who's watching this game. We'll be sure to get you on a list and get you on the first flight out of this country. This is the ugliest game we've seen in years. Years. You've got a 1-10 Boston College, right? We've got a 3-9, 3-8 Syracuse, 0-7 in the conference, 0-6 in the conference, respectively. Syracuse, since they lost Angeli, obviously a much different season. Tough 70-7 loss last week. It's 21-0 before you sat down with your popcorn. Tough game to bring the kid for the first time. Luckily, was on the road. Boston College hasn't had much show either. They have started to stay in some games here. 34 against Georgia Tech. They hung in with Notre Dame. And because of that, this is one of my favorite games of the week. The common opponent, so vastly different that I see BC having an advantage here. Just throw all the stats away. Eye test. Turbo Richard should be able to do whatever he wants against Syracuse. Boston College -3. Put it on the card. Yes. This is the black and blue rivalry, by the way. That's a nice one. See, that's a good rivalry name. Ugly, ugly, ugly. Penn State at Rutgers. What were the odds that Penn State would need to win against Rutgers to clinch a bowl game? Plus 10,000. That's what they need to do. 2-touchdown favored by 13.5. Over under 56.5. Saturday, 2:30. Penn State started to look good. Terry Smith's got this team finally executing at what they should be. And with Gunkenmeyer in there, obviously he's going through the kind of learning pains. But, beat the brakes off Nebraska, Michigan State back to back. Say what you want. Probably should have beat Indiana. But they should beat the brakes off Rutgers on the road. Easily get this done. Just lay it with Penn State. They're going to be able to completely eliminate any run from Rutgers. And that's all Rutgers wants to do. Pass the ball. So Penn State being able to throw a little additional help there. Don't be scared. Lay it. And then the last game that we're going to wrap up with Oregon State, Washington State, Part 2. It's the second time they're playing this season. Oregon State stole one. The two teams have trended in different directions since. It's got to be the under. Under 41.5. I don't think Oregon State scores, but I'm not sure Washington State scores 2 scores to stretch it that far. Yes, Washington State's been playing good, but when you're familiar with the team, you're able to kind of get back on track. So going from I believe, a 1-point underdog to a 14-point underdog, and they played this month. They played the first week of November. Like, am I crazy here? Played November 1st. Oregon State won 10-7. Oregon State, plug your nose, plus 13.5. All right. That is it for those games. Let's go to the Mac Messiah. Man, what a season it's been in the Mac Messiah world. It's been a struggle. We've survived for the most part. Last week, 2-4, but still above water here. 24-23 on the year. As you're seeing here, we're 1-1 on this day. Oh, it was 45.5. 48. No, I typed that in wrong. It was 48. Gave out 48. Whatever. Lost either way. BG covered. So 1-1. So it moves us 25-24. 4 games left on the card. Listen, we also have 3 win totals looking. We need Miami to beat Ball State, gets us over. We need Buffalo to beat Ohio, gets us under Ohio's win total. And Eastern Michigan lost. So boom, we can cash that under hit. So add another season win total to the card. That puts us at a whopping 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7-4 on the year. Best we can finish is 9-4. Worst we can finish is 7-6. So above 500 again after 8-4 win total last year. The Mac goes through me. It's basically what it comes down to. Mac goes through me, and I'm looking forward to this week. They've got 2 games on Friday. They've got 2 games on Saturday. Just real quick, Kent State at NIU. Kent State has been playing well under Mark Carney. Barring any weather, NIU's not be favored over anyone outside of UMass by 5 points. Kent State +5. I love it, especially early in the morning. Ohio at Buffalo is weird. Weird. Buffalo has been disappointing this entire season. They have not been able to find an identity. Ohio wants to run the ball on you. And I'm not sure Buffalo can do anything on offense to keep up with Ohio, but Ohio just allowed dang 20-some points to UMass. So it's like, what's going on here? Was it asleep at the wheel? Get a little out on Court Street the night before because UMass was in town? Yeah, Buffalo just let Miami pull away last week. 14 to UMass. I'm sorry. 14. But it was 21-14 at one point. So, anyway, Buffalo at home. Let's look at the weather for Buffalo. New York weather Friday. 35. Oh, heavy winds. 19-mile-an-hour winds. All right, we're going to go under 44.5 in a game that some would say has no business. But we got to trust it. Ball State at Miami. Miami shouldn't be favored 17.5 over anyone, especially with that low total of 41.5. Going Ball State plus 17.5. And then Toledo minus 10.5 on the road at Central over under 44.5. Man, I'm leaning towards under there, but everything Toledo's shown me these last 4 weeks has been nothing short of disappointing from a season standpoint. On a game-to-game standpoint, it's been extremely impressive. They've allowed 9, 3, 3, 7, 10 in their last 5 games. I'm sorry. That was Washington State. 9, 3, 3, 10 in their last 4 MAC games. Central Michigan team total under? Maybe. 44.5. I think Toledo can cover this 10.5. They're playing for a chance at a MAC championship. Somehow Toledo and Ohio both beat Miami, but if all 3 of those teams win, Miami gets in. Someone make sense of that. Yeah, I mean, I have no fucking idea how that makes sense. So, all right. That's the Mac Messiah. We have one more. What do we got here? One more segment. We got the Moneyline Dog. Where's that at? Gonna fucking love this thing. Get a load of this thing. 1,100 to 1 Moneyline Dog. $10 pays 10,000. Ever heard of it? How about a little $10 bet turning into 10,000 over Thanksgiving weekend? $100, 100,000. Now we're talking. My $100 bettors out there. 3 legs. Keep it simple. 3 games, 180 minutes. The glory. Mississippi State, Ball State, Stanford. Starts on Friday. Get those cowbells going. This is going to be electric. When this hits after midnight, because that game kicks 10:30 Eastern. Oh man, house isn't going to be able to go to bed. I'm going to wake everyone up in the house. 10 grand coming home. Unreal. All right. That's the Moneyline Dog parlay. Let's talk early cards. Got the teaser waiting. So, early cards are pretty simple. Let's see. Big Ten here. What are we doing? There we go. All right. I like the Navy Memphis under 57.5. I like Mississippi State plus 7.5. Like the Iowa Nebraska under 38.5. Like Ohio Buffalo under 44.5. Kent State plus 5. We like Georgia Tech plus 14. But we like that over more. We like over more, 59.5. We like San Diego State minus 120 money line. We like Texas money line plus 110. We're going to ride them again. Didn't talk about Indiana Purdue. Tough. Game used to mean something for 10th place in the Big Ten. Now that Indiana's good, they're going to have to change when they play that game. Give me Arizona on the money line minus 120. Give me Ohio State minus 10. Give me Ohio State team total over. Alt 32.5 because that's the most they'll give me. Plus 190. And then we've got Miami minus 6.5. Texas Tech, didn't talk about them. Didn't talk Kentucky Louisville. Shout out to that rivalry. Louisville shit the bed to make that worthwhile. Didn't talk Colorado Kansas State. Kansas State losing such a horrific fashion last week. Colorado could be live. Who the hell knows? Houston Baylor's a good one too. I like Houston on the money line plus 120. Ball State plus 17.5. Toledo minus 10. We like keep scrolling here just to make sure. We like Vanderbilt plus 120. We like Oklahoma team total over 23.5. Oh, like that one a lot. What was our best bet? Oregon. Oregon Washington over 51.5. Best bet Syracuse or Stanford plus 32.5. Bill gets NC State rivalry. Like the under in the UCLA USC game, 59.5. In the Bama Auburn game in the Iron Bowl, like the over 46. Love that. And then didn't talk about Virginia Tech since that has some meaning. Virginia chokes. Virginia Tech plus 9.5. Florida State for a bowl minus 108. Pretty simple. Although it is one of those things where Florida can get up if can't let our rival win a fucking bowl game or get to a bowl game. So there it is. Early card. There it is. 51.5. Oregon Washington favorite play. Over. Team total over for Oklahoma 23.5. So that'll be the quad box parlay. Vanderbilt money line, Oklahoma team total over, Oregon Washington over, and then Missouri money line minus 142. So that would pay. That's paying un momento. And Vandy money line. That's 13-1. Pretty nice there. $50 bet returns 711. Open every day of the week. Listen, thank you all for sticking around another hour and 45. Did as much as I could, solo effort. Missed the co-host here. Hope that was helpful. I've been up all 3 years. Positive units. Let's finish strong. I feel very, very excited about this rivalry week. Be sure to follow on all socials. It's just AX Sports HQ, AX Sports HQ on all socials. Have a happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. Enjoy the football. Lions -2, bonus NFL bet. Jamar Chase, 120 yards receiving, bonus NFL prop. Dak, 3 touchdowns against Kansas City. Mega prop parlay there. All right. Love you guys. Gobble.